At 6:42 a.m., nothing seemed wrong. Coffee brewed. School buses rolled. Doors locked behind families running late. Life moved forward on schedule. By noon, investigators were standing inside the hospital's records room, scrolling through intake logs, trying to understand how an entire town could begin unraveling without a single alarm ever sounding. No explosion. No warning. No moment anyone could point to and say, "That's when it started." Just people arriving at the emergency room one by one. A child with a rash that didn't itch. A teenager short of breath after doing nothing unusual. An adult dizzy, confused, struggling to finish a sentence. Different families. Different neighborhoods. Same quiet question. What is happening to us? By nightfall, investigators realized something far more unsettling than illness itself. Whatever was affecting the town wasn't dramatic enough to trigger emergency systems, only widespread enough to hide in plain sight. Nothing looked wrong. By noon, the emergency room was full. Not from an accident, not from a storm, not from a single event anyone could point to. Patients arrived with headaches that wouldn't fade. Children with rashes spreading slowly. Teenagers gasping for air after walking short distances. Adults exhausted, unfocused, increasingly anxious. Doctors assumed coincidence. Flu season overlaps with stress. Allergies surge unexpectedly. Viruses don't announce themselves. But investigators monitoring hospital intake data noticed repetition before the doctors did. Patients who didn't know each other described their symptoms using nearly identical language. The same timing. The same gradual worsening. A nurse flagged charts. An administrator escalated concerns. And quietly, a report was forwarded to regional public health investigators. No sirens. No press briefings. Just a question typed into a growing digital file. Is this a cluster? By evening, nurses began writing things they weren't trained to write. Unusual. Recurring. Escalate? There was no protocol for this. No code for everyone getting sick at once. Investigators expanded their scope. They pulled admission timestamps, mapped symptom onset by hour, compared schools, workplaces, and transit routes. At first, nothing connected. Then, teenagers noticed something adults missed. 16-year-old Jordan uploaded a short video online. Not dramatic. Not polished. Just confused. "My head feels like it's buzzing," Jordan said. "Half my class left school early today. Is that normal?" Within minutes, the comments filled. So did mine. My brother too. Our whole practice was canceled. By the next morning, the video was gone. Jordan's parents didn't want attention. Investigators archived it anyway. Because while adults waited for confirmation, teenagers had already documented a pattern. Parents caught up next. At school pickup lines. At church. Inside group chats with names like Concerned Parents and Class of 2026. Kids were tired all the time. Rashes didn't fade. Inhalers appeared where they had never been needed. One parent asked a simple question online. "Is anyone else's child sick?" Hundreds responded. Investigators watched the responses update in real time. That night, the emergency room filled again. Stretchers lined hallways. Doctors ruled out carbon monoxide. Then foodborne illness. Then seasonal flu. Blood work appeared mostly normal. Vitals stabilized. Patients were discharged. then returned. Not severe enough for emergency alerts, not mild enough to dismiss. Investigators requested environmental screenings. Water systems tested within limits. Air quality fell inside acceptable ranges. Nearby facilities showed compliance. Every obvious box was checked, yet symptoms persisted. People miles apart were getting sick at the same time. An investigator noticed something subtle. Location didn't matter as much as timing. A local science teacher created a timeline map. Investigators expanded it. Symptoms surged after heavy rainfall. Then after downtown construction resumed. Then following brief drops in water pressure reported by residents. No one had been testing for that. Because some things aren't regulated. Older pipes, legacy materials. Compounds approved decades ago and never revisited. If no rule requires testing, no alarm sounds. An investigator authorized unofficial sampling. Soil near drainage sites. Sediment inside aging pipes. Water from private wells. The results weren't illegal, but they weren't normal. A compound appeared again and again. Once widely used, later deprioritized. Never fully studied at long-term exposure levels. Assumed safe. When investigators presented the findings, officials responded carefully. This substance isn't currently regulated. There's no violation. There's no established causal link. They weren't lying. They were limited. Because regulation works by categories, and this didn't fit neatly into one. Investigators traced the history. Temporary permits extended year after year. Infrastructure buried, undocumented, forgotten. Materials approved before modern health modeling existed. No conspiracy. No villain. Just outdated decisions compounding quietly. But investigators didn't stop there. Cross-referencing contractor logs, they discovered one name recurring. A senior municipal infrastructure contractor responsible for emergency pipe maintenance. Emails showed cost-cutting pressure. Internal memos revealed skipped testing. Maintenance reports were altered. Legally gray. Scientifically reckless. Investigators confronted the contractor with lab results, time-stamped logs, and internal communications. The story collapsed. The contractor admitted to approving the chemical without proper secondary reaction testing, something required under updated safety guidelines, but rarely enforced. The illnesses weren't random. They followed. Rainfall that disturbed sediment. Construction that altered water pressure. Maintenance that introduced the compound. Timing mattered more than location. The arrest didn't come with flashing lights. It came, quietly, with federal charges related to falsifying compliance reports, endangering public health through negligence, obstructing regulatory review processes. No one accused the contractor of intent to harm. But intent wasn't required. The compound was removed. Pipes were flushed. Monitoring expanded. Illness reports slowed. Not because the town changed, but because the exposure stopped. The case didn't reveal a monster. It revealed something more uncomfortable. A system where harm can occur quietly, lawfully, and unnoticed. Until someone gets sick enough to ask why. Some people recovered. Others didn't. Children learned to manage lingering symptoms. Families questioned whether to move. Neighbors argued about whether the threat was real. Investigators closed the case file with a quiet conclusion. No law had been broken, but the system failed to notice the danger until people paid the price. That was the case. And it didn't end with sirens or headlines. It ended with a realization. Sometimes the most dangerous failures aren't sudden. They're slow, and they happen while everything looks fine. If you enjoy evidence-based detective storytelling and want to see how investigators uncover the truth, subscribe to the Forensic Detective Desk. We post new investigation narratives every day. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Which details surprised you the most? Your perspective might reveal something even the investigators missed.